All right, good evening, 7 p.m. I hereby call to order the regular meeting of November 12th, 2025 for the Lake Ridge Parks and Recreation Association Board of Directors. Let the record show that I have confirmed there is a quorum. And with that, we will proceed to our open forum time and invite any member of the association who is present that would have something to say to the board. We would invite you to speak up. Please state your name and address. Please restrict your comments to maybe 3 or so minutes so we can move along smartly. Anybody have anything on their mind today? Okay, in that case, we'll round robin around the table, see if the board members have anything to start off the meeting tonight before we get into the business. Vince? None? Ben?
Yeah, I wanted to make 2 comments. First of all, I just am so pleased that the Lake Ridge today just gets better and better. The articles are better and better, and I'm gonna try to do what Nick suggested, and that is write some articles, and I encourage all the rest of the board members to do so. The second thing I wanted to say is I was really pleased to read over the insurance, and I was pleased to, looking at the data, to feel like we have given a value to our employees. It's a good policy, and I know that, of course, Nick, you had a lot to do with it, but I'm gonna say hats off to Melissa Perron. So she has negotiated well, and considering what we've been hearing for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I'm grateful.
So for some context, since we are using Kaiser, part of the transition process, and I've got this experience firsthand, is I've been on Kaiser from it, but my family has not, because we didn't have options for our doctors at the time when it first came. We are jumping onto the Kaiser plan. It is going to save me 2/3 once my premium increases, almost $1,000 a month. Just based on what, because I'm in the segment that gets hit the hardest when all the subsidies get removed from all that stuff on the open market, but it is a tremendous difference.
And I was happy to see that we could get other than HOA, I mean, an HOM policy, that we could have choices for them, but looking at the values and what they were paying, I thought, that's good, we did a good job, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Rashonda, anything on your mind? Okay. With that, we will move into business. Invite the general manager to run through his highlights, anything he has on his mind.
All right, couple things. One, I have it in there. I do want to highlight another almost 20-year employee that will be retiring at the end of the year. Andres Barrett Kelly, who I think Brody hired him the first time he was here when he first started, and I think they were on the crew together. So he's been here a long time, one of our great managed workers, and just want to recognize him. New website relaunch. Hopefully we will have it up and ready to roll mid-December. Right now we've got the front, that was kind of the preview that I put in the picture. We still don't have all the stuff flushed out. The back pages are still getting the pictures in. We are taking some video drone footage right now with the fall weather, because all the stagnant pictures, now that we've upgraded, we'll be able to do video panoramas and stuff like that. So we're gonna have some moving video in as well, try to keep it up to date. And some of the stuff we've got on the first page, you'll see the stuff that shows what Lake Ridge is to the rest of the not just Lake Ridge residents. So we're trying to do both. So that website relaunch will be hopefully in a month. The Scouts finished their Eagle Scout project, and we've got some interest for a few other projects. So we're going to continue to try to work with any of the Scouts that have it. We turned down an interest for a sponsorship because they need a nonprofit to sponsor a Scouts organization, and we didn't think it was the right spot for Lake Ridge to pick one Scout troop that they would, because there'd be multiples. We'll be talking about the preschool tuition approval tonight for next year's tuition rate. One of the nice things you'll see in this budget is that we've got some estimates for overages this year based on our enrollment into the after school, the aftercare program, which is, I think, the first time since at least COVID that I think we've had close to full enrollment. I have, if Laura confirmed, I think that's about right, but also that we're now looking at, we've always been zero. Maybe broken even or close to it, but this has this about 30,000 ahead to work with for the budgeting, and that's, we think that might even be kind of conservative, so we're excited to see where that's going. Dog park renewal will be back on the agenda. Open enrollment, we finished all of our open enrollment benefits, it just closed, all of our employees will start their new benefits program starting December 1st. Into your financial statements, I'm sure Aaron will talk more about the budget committee meeting, but we did finish with a complicated ending. We were well over an expense, or I'm sorry, well over an income, so the led with the wrong part of that. A large part of that is due to some rec income that outperformed. Some were between $70,000, $100,000 more rec income than we had expected or had budgeted for, so that helped. We also knew we had some budgeted headwinds, particularly from the healthcare, employee health benefits. We had budgeted for less enrollment than would actually happen last year, so that started us $50,000 in the hole when we walked into the budget. We ended up, we also had to pay back the PPP loan, $701,000. So at the end of everything, I think the total deficit was about $580,000. Considering there was a unplanned $700,000 payment, that's pretty good to recoup it up. 690, okay. So that's all, but still, we didn't lose all that money and brought back some of the PPP loan as well. And that PPP loan will be out of the equity that we have saved up, so still won't have an effect on the bottom line dues rates. One last thing to do, I think Trent's got a picture up here. CAI contacted us last week, I think the other one is Trent, if the. That's the one I have. Oh, that's on the other one? Alright, well. Lakeridge and the Lakeridge staff got recognized last week at the CAI award ceremony for the participation of special recognition award for participation in weekend. So the Lakeridge chapter was very, where the Washington DC Metro chapter of CAI was very appreciative of the way that class went.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
And that is all I have.
Any comments or questions with respect to the trust? All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting of the regular board meeting, the minutes, excuse me, of the regular board meeting of September 9th. 2025.
I move to approve the consent agenda for the September 9th, 2025 board meeting and the minutes of October 17th, 2025 special board meeting minutes.
Okay, without looking at the calendar, I can't
I read it.
ascertain, but the agenda says October 17, the motion says October 14.
That's what it said.
I thought I said 17.
Or you read the motion.
No, I read it off of here.
Yeah, okay. The posture of the motion sheet says 14. Somebody check the calendar for me, please.
For the minutes.
It's October 17th.
Yeah.
On the actual minutes.
Okay,
And that's what I,
I could have checked that, couldn't I, right? in front of me?
and that's what I read, so.
Yes.
So it's the motion sheet that needs the correction, so.
Got it.
Good to go now? Everybody on board?
Did we do it?
I have it on my calendar that we met on the 14th.
Right.
It was a Tuesday. So.
Okay, then both get you back to make it right that way.
Both need to be
As long as you get the right number.
Well,
The
yeah, the
motion's
minutes
correct.
themselves that we're seeing here say October 17th.
Oh, it's a mission, or that's a mistake I didn't catch.
So which was it?
It is the 14th.
Yeah, I think you're right, okay. So we can make that correction. I also make that correction in my motion. I was going with 2 out of 3. And let me start over again, okay? I move that we approve the consent agenda for September the 9th, 2025 board meeting and the special board meeting minutes of October the 14th, 2025. Now, John,
Good.
thank you. We're getting there.
We'll get there. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
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 You opposed, nay? All right, that takes care of that. Let's move to, I'll entertain a motion to approve consent agenda for the director reports.
I so move. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any comments or discussion with respect to the director's reports? In that case, I'll ask all those in favor of approving the director reports, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. All right. John, anything specific you want to get into the record on gear? You said you were doing okay?
You're doing okay, good. I've been spending all my time trying to run down things on the articles and the.
Okay. Aaron, what do you want? You want to tell us about the finance and the.
Yeah.
Very
We met last Wednesday, good session, thank you. Nick had arranged for Ed Hart to give us an overview
Thank
of our investment. And he went through the 4 different accounts we have with him and where we'll stand, what he does. And we even discussed a little bit about whether we could, and Ron was there, speculate and invest in the market. But no, I don't think that's in the cards. Not something that the board is interested in. Second, the charts I just passed out today. You'll see the very first one, were on, actually, May 23, we started with 6.2 mil. And as effective, right now, November 25th, we got 12.9 mil investments. Seems like we've been earning about 500,000 a year, which is pretty good. On the next chart, you'll find the status of each one of those accounts that we have. Subdivisions, operating reserves, associated reserves. We took out all the cash and invested it. We had some additional cash in those accounts to cover the paving and all the additional work that was done during the summer so as to meet our commitments. And Nick took care of that, so then we moved stuff from savings and CDs, treasuries that had come due and invested them in new similar instruments. The last chart, you'll see how we're programmed for the next year. Looks like the way it looks today, we're looking at about 450,000 or so of income coming in. Rates are going down, so that's going to have an effect on it. And then last, a little bit about what Nick talked about. The staff, I think, should be commended in that we picked up an additional $106,000 in income during the course of the year. And that was as a result of the work that they've done. As such, we exceeded our plan by 690. But that was mainly due to the 701 paid for performance loan.
Aaron, how did you come up with the projected income? Was that from Ted Hart or did you using a program or?
No, it's right there on that last sheet that you
Yeah,
have.
I'm looking at the last sheet.
See,
I know what the projection is. I'm saying, how did you come up with it?
this is Ed's computerized
That's what I was asking. It's
system, yeah,
Ted's program.
or Morgan
It's all-
Stanley, Morgan Stanley.
Yeah. Well,
Second, we did finish with a 10,000 surplus. But the key here is that we did overspend our budget by about, excluding will pay for a performance loan about 95K. And those were mostly attributed to health insurance, the salaries and labels, that unusual retirement that we had with a 40-year employee. And then the last rationale for is, let's see if that in here. Oh, yeah, collections. That's included, and thank goodness that we've changed the timing for our notices to people in the community.
That's persistently been a problem across all the years that I've been on the board.
Well, I think that move that Nick and his staff came up with will go a long way in
Yes.
helping us with that.
We'll see. We haven't got to the data yet, so I hope so too.
Yeah,
It'll probably be-
September's the first month. We'll see.
Yeah, it'll probably be closer to May before we see the
Yeah,
actual catch up on
And
this.
hopefully with more people in our community who have been furloughed and going and fired and going back to work, hopefully. I saw some of the numbers going down, so hopefully that will help us in a positive direction.
I've noticed a lot of small delinquencies. Is that because people didn't adjust their bank payments in September?
That's almost always the case. Yeah, and then they end up getting caught up on it. That's almost always the case. If you actually look at our delinquency number for September, it's within $7,000, I think, of last year's delinquency at the same time. So our rate is really the same. It's hard to track the trend through the year as it goes down because of our acceleration. It really skews the math on it. So it looks like we collected more just because, but it looks like it's gone up just because we've all of a sudden accelerated and added debt that still hasn't actually happened. And then it goes down again as we get closer to it. So it throws that number off, but
I just noticed a lot of delinquencies that were like 1467.
I think that's always common in the first of the year. Or the bigger or fiscal year.
Of the assessment year.
Yes, assessment, that's the right.
Okay, any questions for Aaron? Martha, you have any input for us tonight?
I do. I am very pleased to report that we have 10 applicants for the 2026 Lake Ridge Board election. The first week of October, we only had 4. By October the 27th, we were up to 7. And in their final stretch, we had 3 more applicants. So I'm so grateful that we had so many applicants this year and so many people who are willing to serve on the Lake Ridge Board. Many of them are already active members and volunteers in our community. Also want to thank LaShonda for sitting down with John Mayer, my fellow committee member, and I for a lunch with Lake Ridge segment. I know she has a very busy schedule. She did a great job in our interview, and hopefully that was a means to attract candidates. We held it a little bit earlier this year, as I reported to the board at our last meeting, to use that as a means to attract candidates. And I want to thank Trent and Nick for their support. Trent did a great job of consistently getting the word out, advertising for candidates, and Nick for his support and willingness to meet with the candidates and give them a tour of the facilities. I thought that was a great idea in helping them to prepare. And some important upcoming dates for our nominating committee are December 4th, we'll have the candidate briefing. January 7th is Meet the Candidates Night. And February 10th, of course, is our annual meeting of the membership. Always goes so quickly. So, thank you.
Any questions for Martha?
I just want to say thank you.
Good work. All right, trails. Neil.
Well, the request for proposal for the Who's Run crossing is still not released, the bridge and Who's Run. Our latest, report from the park department is they'll be released next month. So we'll see. There is one small success story, I wanted, it was in your packet too, but I wanted to relay that, way back in early July, Prince William Water, started work at the construction site for the pump station on Spinnaker Court. Well, they set up a construction fence around where they haven't, as of like a few days ago, they've still not been back to start that actual work, but they blocked out all the trails through that area. So, we did contact them and it took a while, but, by September, they realized they could safely open them up again. Basically, people just have to cross the driveway, you know, the access road. So they are allowing that, they opened the fence in those areas, so the trail remains open for people to use, which is good news. And there's, kind of a larger story in the county that now that, along those lines, Parks Department has entered a formal agreement with Prince William Water to coordinate on projects now, so looking for opportunities to do trails when, Prince William Water does a project or on their easements. Have an opportunity to do trails on the utilities and sewer. And, that was actually fine, I think, in September, early October, so hopefully we'll avoid fencing off trails in the future, so that's all I have.
Remarkable good news when new pieces of stuff.
Yeah.
Neil, the pictures were great to give us an idea of what's going on. Thank you.
One other small trails note, we've had some forward movement working with Kenny Bodie's office. We're looking at putting a speed table, crosswalk where the Greenway Trail crosses, Mohican to the tot lot. I think it's Mohican. Spread that is that it's the longest stretch without an intersection or a speed bump or anything on any straight road in there, and it's crossing the tot lot and the entrance to Greenway. We think it'd be a spot to start looking at some traffic control there, as well as put out the trail, show that the trail crosses the sidewalk there with an actual crosswalk. We'll have updates as that gets to VDOT's desk.
Well, the map crosswalk is actually further, east.
What was that?
The actual crosswalk, if you look at the map, is not at the top line.
Oh, no, any crosswalk is nowhere near that section. That one's, it's almost half a mile up the road at the next intersection. It's a ways. So we'll see. I'm sure there will be a survey of the people that are in that area, because we're not even through that part, but it's something we had identified with parks to include as part of the trail connection.
All right. Ready to move on? All right, new business. Have an application request for home-based business. You see the particulars in the board package. I will entertain a motion to take action on that. Page 38, if we're coming through your, or at least it's 38 on my numbering system.
Wow. Okay, I'll do it. I found it. I move to approve the request for a home-based business of daycare for 1 to 2 clients per day, Monday through Friday, between the hours of 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. at the address of 2931 Cambridge Drive, Lake Ridge, Virginia. 22192, with the condition that the owner will comply with all local ordinances and data and obtain any required insurance coverage for the lawful operation of the business.
Sorry.
And by the way, that's a typo. It's got Lake Ride in the suggested motion, but anyway.
Sorry.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that application request?
Looks like she's really prepared.
Right.
Yep,
And 1 or 2 kids.
think we got think she got all her boxes checked.
Yep.
All right. All in favor of approving the request for home-based business, please say aye. Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Regional tuition rates. You have a handout, I mean, as part of the package, you have information on that. We've already had some comments about the school.
Motion.
Financial situation is looking pretty good. I'll entertain a motion to, act on that item and we can get it on the floor for discussion.
I move to approve the Lake Ridge Creative Preschool rates for the 2026-2027 school year as listed.
That's fine.
Thank you.
As printed.
I
As
second
recommended.
it.
Have a motion and a second. All right, am I correct, Laura, that this is still a very attractive fee structure from the standpoint of the market?
Yes, yes, and competitive in our, with our.
So I think we're doing good for the community. If it's also seems to be doing good for us, I don't know what else we can ask for.
I want to say how much I appreciate the data. It's a really clear picture of past and present and where we're going, and that's really helpful. Thank you.
In that addition, for the aftercare, I think, and especially when my kids were that small, I know that that's a big plus, especially if you have multiples. And it can make the difference between what your job or home care options or business options are. So whoever, if you were responsible for that, that was just a wonderful addition. So just wanted to do that.
No, so the people who sign up month at a time that give us the guaranteed are nice, the drop-ins, the drop-ins is really, that's the nicer rate.
Well, and I can imagine
And they like it.
that the drop-ins, I mean, what a luxury to be, I mean, because people have stuff come up all the time.
Right.
Absolutely, or get held over for
So-
overtime.
All right, all in favor of approving the creative preschool rates as proposed? Please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right. Thank you all. We'll move to the extension or the addition of a one-year lease on the dog park. It's status quo, do it again. I think we had some discussion earlier that 1 year made sense under the total picture of things. So I'll entertain a motion to take action on that item.
Okay, John, you're up.
I have been all the time.
Just say you moved to
I
approve the lease.
moved to approve the dog park lease.
There you go.
Thank
Well
you.
done. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, Bob. Now, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the lease of our common area property for the purposes of the dog park to the county, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. All right, so we have a couple items that don't have any particular support in the handout or in the support package. But I think there's some familiarity with the points. Trent, if you could get my PowerPoint up on the document discussion, I would appreciate it. So I suppose in the very strictest sense, when you have new business, you're supposed to have something you can act on. But we don't have anything to act on because we don't know what we want our act to be. So this is a discussion item. I mean, it's just that simple. So there's been a number of the directors who, when we've had various discussions about things that we wish were different in the documents. And there is some history that goes with that from some years ago. And kind of comes around again as a full circle to have some discussion. So I put together a few points in PowerPoint just to kind of frame the discussion. And at this point, this is an open discussion. You can row the boat as you see fit.
1 second, zooms there.
By the way, I think that new business does not always have to be acted upon.
Well, you don't have to take action, but
Because sometimes otherwise there's no.
how would you thought about it?
That's exactly right,
Right.
exactly my point.
So I could have saved all that discourse and we could have just got to it.
Well,
So let me tick through these points.
Start with the first page again, please.
There we go.
Thank you.
All right, so here's what I think is before us as the board of directors. We have to decide what our intent is, we have to decide how much priority and resources we wanna put on it, what kind of timeline we put on it. We need to assess what the requirements are to accomplishment as to, kind of, are they doable? Do we wanna invest that much, or do we think we can manage it? And then after we kind of, that's all kind of the mental framework, right? And so if we get that far, then the mission would become, let's figure out what the changes are we want, draft those changes, and then propose the changes. So that's kind of the track I see. John, were you trying to get in there and want to say something?
Go out, I'm following your lead.
Okay, so, go ahead, Trent. So I've tried to summarize where we are on what it would take to do it, I kind of jumped to that bullet, assess requirements. So the requirements for changing the documents are change the bylaws, it takes the majority of a quorum. That means, in my simple mentality, it means it's compatible with putting something on the ballot. We could do it any other time as well, but for economy and efficiency, we would probably do it in connection with an annual meeting election. And changing the bylaws mechanically or procedurally is compatible with doing it that way on the ballot. The declaration requires that it be a signed instrument. It has to be 75% of the owners. And that's 75%, not of the households, but 75% of the names on the deed. And then the conclusion is, or I think fairly obvious, that that's not compatible with doing it by a ballot in connection with an election. It is, as Janet and I actually had a plan for, it's a door-to-door clipboard kind of operation. And so when we look at what we want to do and think about the amount of resources we want to put on it and how fast we might want to try to do something, then that's sort of the big picture box that I'd like you guys to all be aware of. And I think I got one more slide. Okay, so the declaration amendment, kind of in summary, it's going to be labor intensive, it's going to take a fair amount of resources. And I suggest that part of our decision-making process or part of our discussion process is, it's incumbent upon us to assess the benefit versus the investment, or to put it in fancy terms, what are we gonna get out of it that makes it worth that amount of effort? And with that, so my desire to come away from this discussion tonight, which I would like to, we don't have to decide anything, and we don't have to beat it to absolute end state, because I think this is one of those things that probably, it's like stew or whatever, it gets better with age. I mean, we may need to let this simmer a little bit, but I think we don't have to. What would be nice is to come away from the discussion with some kind of sense from the board as to, do we want to start down the path, and what would we like to do to start? Make sense? Anybody?
I haven't been working on any of this other stuff, except going down deeper and deeper on the internet on all of this. And I came up with basically, we don't wanna mess with the articles. I mean, we don't really have any problem with the articles. But the covenants, the CCR is what we need to be targeting.
Like
The
CTR,
declarations.
Declarations, yeah, and, they require 90% after the first 20 years and 75% after the next, every 10 years after that. Than when I was reading, but I came and I even found a Virginia Supreme Court case dealing with an amendment. And I don't know, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know if that has any value to us, or I'm gonna defer to.
I don't know what case it is off the top of my head, so.
Okay, so I think I have mostly funneled all the things that you've
Okay,
created. Have one way or another made to Amy, but I'm not
Okay.
suggesting she's had time to digest them all, or.
Well,
And again, we weren't looking for her to do much in the way of effort
No,
until we
no,
got a sense of the board.
yeah,
Do we wanna invest in this?
How did it come, John, that you were tapped to
It's volunteer. It's-
I volunteered.
They should.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I just dug
You
down
said
in
a
all
lot.
of this, dug and
Thank you.
pestered Ron for, you know, some direction now and then as to which way to go. And Ron was the only point of contact that was coordination with him on how I should be.
Question, Nick, you brought this up, I think, a couple of board meetings ago, that y'all, the staff was gonna start looking at it.
No, what I had put in the July board packet was a proposed timeline if the board wanted to pursue it.
Gotcha, so we haven't given you an indication.
It hadn't been at that point.
Because I was under the assumption that you guys had already started looking at it,
Well,
and some of the staff had given you feedback that maybe we wanna look at this area or that area.
our first phase was to go through and rewrite documents so that they're no longer, at least in the old Xerox A Billion Times format, so if you want.
Oh,
May I
that's
suggest
words.
that
Just
you
to make a
retranscribe.
reprintable.
Okay,
I
yeah.
didn't rewrite them.
They will retranscribe, sorry.
Thank you.
Yes, we did
Because
not,
I
we did
thought
not
you were
rewrite.
I thought you were trying to rewrite them. I didn't know that you meant
No, it was
the
retranscribed.
value of words.
Just, yeah, scan them in.
Melissa would say that.
Oh, no, we did use AI for the process, which once the tool was refined and worked great. It rewrote quite a bit of it, we had to go back and continue to rewrite, but we did get them legible again online, so that was the first phase. I think we know some areas that are challenging to us that we'd actually put in there and give our feedback. But I think one of the biggest things that's coming, Ron has just shared with me the file from the last effort you guys have done. So I have now.
You have the red line version?
I'm going, I think so. I've got it
Yeah,
there.
because
It's got it.
Sounds like I've got everything. So now that's what I'm gonna go through, is kind of summarize and figure out
At
what we've
least we
got,
didn't lose it.
what we've done. Well, we've got it. We'll get it up, probably up on Vanica, so you all can review it if we need to, or something switches there. There's a lot of looking at it at the moment, just right now. But really, I think the board needs to decide. I don't know if it's decide what to change or how hard the lift is to change anything and then prioritize what to change, because the declaration change, getting signatures, really defining what that means is going to determine whether that's really possible. And if it's, I mean, anything's possible, but how much money you're gonna, time you're gonna throw out to make it actually happen, whether it's likely.
Well,
When we went down this road once before, we were advised that we didn't have to get it all approved at one time. That it could be over a period of time, like a rolling tally of adding up. One of the plan that we had in place was that once we had a completed declaration, I think the crux here of the argument is, how do we get 75%? Do we think it's worth it? I mean, is it gonna be too heavy a lift? Because we went through all of that before, and then we had new board members, and subsequently they decided it was not appropriate. They didn't think we could get it done. So that's really the crux of the issue. Do you think you can get it done? One of the plans that we had was that we would have a series of like town hall meetings. And that at least 2 board members at each town hall meeting would stand up and would discuss with anybody that wanted to come, sort of like a lunch with Lake Ridge that Nick had, to educate the community about what we were doing and why we were doing it. We know the documents are obsolete. I think you've probably come to that conclusion yourself, John. So what the hurdle we really have to consider before we vote as a board to go forward with this is not whether we can change the documents, but whether or not we can get them approved by the community 75%. That's the bottom line.
what and Amy's gonna jump all over because I know I'm gonna mess this up. But what I was reading said that if we tried to get 75% 3 times and could not get the participation, a judge could make a ruling. But that means we have to go through it 3 times. On the other hand, there was a provision to amend it. And this was separate, and to amend the declarations. Again, this was what the Supreme Court thing kind of recognized. If we could come up with a really good reason, like the fact look at what this covers. This covers our architectural guidelines are way out of date. If we could go in and say, we've got all of this out of date stuff 50 years ago. We had too big can we get a judge to rule to let us go with less than 75%? I think to me, in my lay opinion, that looked like an option, but I'm not gonna say it is.
Oh, our legal opinion that we got, and Amy was not our attorney at the time. It told us, the attorney was active with the Virginia Legislative Committee for CAI. We were advised that under new guidance, we would not have to have a single vote and go through it 3 times, but rather that we could have a vote process over a period of time. Such as over a year, we could be voting on it, but I just made up.
I didn't see
Made
that,
up
that's a
like-
better option.
So you're talking about two different things. What John excavated was I don't know, if it was an opinion or a case law or what it was, or it might have just been.
It was a case of a ruling.
Okay, it was a rule that if you fail 3 times, you can ask for a circuit
I
court.
got it.
and It had nothing to do with the time period.
And
So
I-
it would take 3, I mean, if it took a year, then we'd have to do it for another year, and we'd have to do it for another year. So it's the failing 3 times. I just thought of one more point that I forgot to put on the slides, that, I offer for your consideration in sort of feeling our way as to where we want to go and when we want to go. And that is, we are a couple of months away from the annual meeting and the election. And by definition, because we have some board members who are not returning of their own, well, due to their own situations, we're gonna have new members of the board. And so it dawned on me, just like Janet said, that the last time we did this, we really didn't pay too much attention to the calendar, and we kind of set off on a path. And then the composition of the board changed, and that path was no longer the path. And so I think maybe we should possibly take that into consideration about how solid or how, what's the right word, definitive a plan we make, because
How
in
likely
February-
is the board to be able to carry it forward?
we have the support of the new members of the board, or will the sentiment change? There's no way to predict the future.
Yeah.
Two things first. You had, changed the bylaws, and the other one was changed
The
the
declaration.
declaration. What's the difference?
Oh, goodness.
Well, the declaration is a piece of the document that is labeled the Declaration of Covenants, I think, or whatever, and that's the one that talks
That's the
about.
biggest one. That's the one that really outlines what you can do and what you can't do. That's really very obsolete.
And bylaws are the.
That's more, no, the bylaws are more the mechanics of doing the things that the declaration says. So it talks about the responsibility
It's the officers'
of
responsibility.
electing the president, and John's got, I guess he's offering to share it with you there. It has to do with,
How elections
the
are
more,
done.
yeah, the elections, and how you administer.
Duties of the president are the treasurer, et cetera.
I didn't.
That's the bylaws.
That's the bylaws.
That's the bylaw.
Okay, understand. Now, what is it that we think is out of date or we need to change? And why do we need to change it?
So some of the big ones, I'm gonna jump in there, is that based on case law, our professional legal input is that we cannot charge money for screwing up your covenant agreement because the documents don't authorize it.
Mhm.
We would like to do that. I mean, sort of in a vacuum, right? I mean, that's what modern associations do. They make so that you're not stuck between doing nothing
And sending it off.
and sending it off for a lien or a foreclosure or for a whatever. A suit, a lawsuit, it's not a foreclosure at that point. So right now, the two extremes of what we can do for somebody who is a chronic lender is we can do nothing. Or we can, that's not quite right, I'm sorry, I'm being, I'm exaggerating. In terms of, you can take away their amenities or you can, but you can't charge them money.
Right.
Or you can go to court and litigate.
Does that include delinquencies?
That
No.
is what we're talking about.
No.
No.
No, we're not talking about it. delinquency.
So you're talking about covenant,
I'm talking about covenants,
right?
covenant restrictions. John,
What I was reading, if the law changed, that was one of the things a judge could approve, making that, doing that, bringing that across. If a judge could approve doing that because the law changed in it, that you couldn't abide by the law if you stayed with it. That was what I was coming across with, but again, I got so confused doing all of this.
Okay. Let me just jump in,
yep, please.
Please.
because I think a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. There is a statute that allows for reformation of the declaration through a judicial process. That starts out by saying, an association may petition the circuit court to do this. When they've attempted to amend the declaration regarding ownership of legal title to the common areas or real property, to resolve ambiguities or inconsistencies that are the source of legal or other disputes regarding legal rights and responsibilities or scrivener's errors. So I don't know that this is something, this has not been used very often, first of all.
No,
Second of all, I do not know that this is something that preference can be changed as opposed to something that is legally correct or incorrect. And third of all, the law itself is a little wonky because it says that you have to have 3 good faith attempts to convene a duly called meeting of the association to present for consideration amendments to the declaration. But as Ron just pointed out, you don't make changes to the declaration through a meeting and a vote. You make them through a written instrument signed by 75% of the owners. So by the face of this, you guys can't ever comply with this because you're never gonna hold a vote for that. So, I mean, you could argue you make 3 attempts to amend the declaration, and then you could go to the judge maybe, but is what you wanna change, this goes back to your question, so dire that you wanna spend the money to make 3 good faith attempts? So you're talking full out trials to amend the declaration and get 75% people to sign it, and then go to a judge, and this isn't gonna be cheap, because we probably have to sue a whole bunch of people and include them. They require 30 days notice to all owners, 30 days notice to all mortgagees. I mean, this is not
Well,
a cheap
But
process.
fundamentally, you just said the same reaction I had when I read that, is that the things we want to change, like collecting money or, various, buy and sell, that's the other big one. Right now, we can't buy and sell without the approval of the membership. And we would like to do that. I mean, I would like to do that.
Well, but I'm concerned that that's a preference issue. It's not that you can't
That's
do
my
it.
illustration.
Right.
That's my illustration. Those things are not covered under the provisions.
Explicit.
That's,
Arguably, right, I mean, that's an argument we could make. I'm not saying it's not an argument, but
but arguments cost money.
exactly.
So. More thoughts? I'm gonna put those way forward here in a minute.
the other thing I'm gonna say, we have probably got some topics that we want to make changes in that are of interest to the architecture rules and things like that, that are of interest to the group, to the members. So if we started what we were looking at and got the membership to start looking at what we were looking to change, they may have a vested interest in supporting the change. If that materializes, then we would have we could have a smaller number to have to deal with outside of that.
I said that 2 years ago.
It sounds like a
As soon as we
marketing
found out,
It's a huge marketing challenge, any way you look at it.
Okay. That's,
campaign.
I find that,
What you said is true. It's just how we sell it, who gets on board, and how much money do we want to invest in,
Exactly.
money, time, effort, attention span, do we want to invest in it? Investigating it or moving down the road.
yeah, I think that that what I would like to see, having done some reading and some things on our own, is we should probably, if we decide, we should have some type of meeting where we discuss what we see as directors to the things that need to be changed first. Because everybody may have their own set of eyes or perspectives about views. Like, for instance, I've gotten a couple of questions about ways to implement home business, just like we just approved someone to do home businesses, but our documents kind of don't align with what's current with that. So, for example, certain things like that, everybody should have an opportunity to review that, and then we can determine based on that what is actually doable, because the thing is this. There are things, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to run, because I've read some of these things, it's like, it does need to change. And we can't be afraid of what. If it needs to be changed, it has to happen, no matter cost considered and like surmountable things considered, we have to at least make the effort for the benefit of our residents. If it's gonna help our residents, help our community be better, then we have to put forth that effort. If it's something that's reasonable, that we can actually get done, just like what she was explaining, some things are maybe out of our hands and reach, it may be contentious, but that's kind of what we signed up for, so we just have to. So, I mean, how do you, eat an elephant one bite at a time? I just would hope that if we do decide to go through this process, Janet, as she was talking about some of the ideas that I was having, I was kind of aligned with that, because I really think that having the community's input on, is how that materializes. Some people do town halls, some people have ad hoc committees, some people have standing committees, where they include resident input on how this would happen, and also educating them of how it would impact them. Because a lot of times, for instance, we don't, some residents may have businesses, and for instance, and I'm just using this because this is just one that has come to me, and they may wanna have like a neon rolling sign in their front yard, like how do we balance that, how do we help them and to make sure that that's covered in our documents, because not necessarily,
Okay,
to prevent that. So I think that whatever we do decide to do, I'm someone that's, I know it may be an arduous task, but we have to get it done. We just have to, we have to change it. We have to, and I think it'll be incumbent upon us to help work with anyone who does come on board to see the value in that. And the only way we can do that is if we sit down and look at it for ourselves individually and point out what we think, what comes to mind, probably getting input from management and other sources as needed. And it's something that other communities have done and have gone through with varying success. So we could end up back right where we are after going through all of this, but the thing is, we have, at least those communities can say versus ours, that they've gone through that process.
Has Westbridge done it?
I could not find information on Westridge, but I did find some on Reston, HOA. I haven't done it. I spent a lot of time online, but, I can share with you, I'll send you an email with just a little bit what I have, if that's okay with you on. What I.
So that's part of what I'm gonna propose, is that, and I haven't cleared this with you, Nick, so feel free to tell me what's straight. Would it be feasible to use, for you to designate a member of the staff, and it could be you yourself, as the clearinghouse, or not a clearing, but a collection point, so that anything a director wants to put in to row the boat could be something that you could collect. The alternative would be I can do it.
No, I can.
But what I'm trying to do is get it into the place, because frankly, until somebody said it while ago, I think. So we get into Vanica, we can make it part of the,
Well, and
the
that's,
stuff that's available on Vanica.
And it's kind of my suggestion to that, is one, everything that you gave me, I've gone through, and the 2 minutes we're sitting here, I've got a pretty decent summary that shows all the proposed changes from all 3 documents that you guys previously proposed. And then also some of the I don't have all the legal summaries and everything in here either yet. But some of the recommendations or hurdles to make those changes, how they relate to each other, how a change in declaration. Because you had, some of the changes on you were complex, they were ones that were kind of cascaded down the document, so you couldn't do it here, you didn't make other changes
Right.
elsewhere. And so there's multiple steps in some changes. I post a summary or send that summary to you guys with instructions on where to find the actual files.
On my
That
track.
you provided
I
by
wanna-
Nomanica, and then with that, you guys should be able to upload If you can't, you can give them to me too, you could be able to, and I can put them on there, we can upload them all to a shared folder on Vanica that's board view open, that's easy enough to do.
Okay, so that's what I was on the path to make a homework assignment to ourselves. To go back, or go back for some of us, forward for some of the rest of you, and familiarize yourself with history. And see if that gives you inspiration. And then form your own opinions as to what's important, what's not important, what you could live with, what you really want to do. One other point came to mind as we were talking about what was it that's been a burr under our saddle? Commercial vehicles has been a burr under our saddle for 100, well, not quite 100 years, only 50 years. And so that was one of the things that we were gonna go after, was to make that something that we thought was more expedient. On the other hand, it's the pros and cons. So the homework I'm suggesting that we assign ourselves is to go look at that, form your own list of this is my opinion, that we do this, we don't need to do that, we need to do this. And if it's not something that hasn't been suggested yet, if it's something new, suggest it to you. And if you have any trouble making that work mechanically, get me or Nick, we'll help you. I have a homework assignment, possibly, I think I'd like to ask you to consider making a homework assignment thing. But you wanted to say something before I do that.
Well, maybe we're on the same wavelength there. I was gonna say, as wonderful as it is that y'all are doing your own research, I don't think it's a smart idea for you to be doing the legal research.
Correct.
Because you're only seeing, I mean, like, I Googled supplementary declaration and the
Yeah.
stuff that came up
I
was
can't
whack.
ask you though.
Right, but I mean, I think it would be more effective, even though it would cost you some money, to funnel those questions my way, rather than, I mean, certainly through Ron, since he's board president, but like, it just seems like it would be, you get a better opinion. I don't mean because I'm better, but just because the internet is not.
Because you're not a paralegal.
So that was,
I send everything
Yeah,
Ron, and Ron's, I expect the filter was just what is sane enough to go forward to Amy, but I know some of it's not, so.
So what's my,
so the homework I was gonna propose for you would be to expend X amount of resources, I don't know how to choose the X,
sure,
in a preliminary or a preliminary assessment of the legal ramifications, current, real time, things that are now, not what they were last time. And tell us sort of what
risk.
the practicalities are and what the process would be. In some kind of summary fashion.
what do you mean by practicalities? You mean like the actual
Well,
like
you could-
process and how difficult it
so
would be
you
or
could-
not difficult or?
I would think that you would produce something that, in summary fashion, reaffirms some of the things you
Yeah.
said. Written instrument,
Right.
what it means,
Uh-huh,
names on the deed.
right.
You know, just so it's in writing and we all have the same baseline or
Sure.
starting point of this is what has to be done to make this work.
Okay,
And then, you know, some of the things John's brought up, John is just amazing in digging this stuff up from my point of view. But he's right, we don't really know whether it's pertinent or not. And just like that statute we
Mhm.
just went over, it looks good, but then you start reading the fine print and it may not even be relevant.
right,
So that's the kind of things I would like you to opine on.
sure, no problem.
A couple of questions, please.
Sure.
So Nick, when might you be able to get it uploaded into Vanica? So what's a realistic time frame that we might look for it?
By the end of the week, I think
Okay.
a good portion of the relevant stuff, it looks like there's some of the main summaries of what you wanted to change on each document is some good information there.
So we'll be able to see exactly.
Yeah, it might be bits and pieces, I'm gonna give the stuff that's self-explanatory first, so that you can make sense of it if I'm not providing some summary to it, and then. Cause there's a lot of draft
Right,
versions and previous versions.
right, we never threw anything away.
Yeah, we got everything.
But-
We'll go through and get
You don't need to have every
Yeah.
increment of what we did.
Yeah, we do have I don't know which copy you gave him or whatever, but we did have a final red line
Yeah,
version
that's in there,
that cost us.
but we also have every preceding increment.
Yeah,
Oh, that-
I didn't have all that, but I mean, I didn't keep all that, but
I
it
did.
took us 5 years with,
So this proposed
community.
red line document is something that you have, and
Yes.
you'll
Yeah.
upload that?
Yep.
And that has what you guys wanted to change way back?
yes,
5 years ago.
and we,
The power of
I do think though that the summaries are gonna give you more information than the red line document itself. When you're actually reviewing if you're not, I was looking at too, is you're gonna look at the changes and it's gonna be really difficult to tell exactly what that legalese changes without knowing the notes tied to that change in
and
document.
Right.
Summaries that make a little bit more.
the
Do
second.
we have 10, 20, 30 changes we're proposing?
Oh, I would guess that
Some of it.
at the umbrella level, the substantive changes were probably
Mine.
15 to 18, maybe, I don't know. The actual number of word changes in document is,
So there's
because it has, like Amy said,
20, but then there might be some cascade.
cascade.
Right. So the second thing I wanted to say was that, as John recommended, and as I said a couple of years ago, when I found out that we could no longer impose fines for covenant violations, as we had been doing for years, but since the legal,
Landscape changed.
it did, and the judicial decisions changed so that if it weren't textually in our documents, we couldn't do that. At that time, I proposed that we do a trial basis of a couple of things, just like that one. Pick something that we thought surely the community could get behind and would support. I mean, through the Lake Ridge Lunch and Learn, we learned that a lot of homeowners are concerned that we're not strictly enforcing the covenants, and others said we were forcing them too much. So I think we have something there that they could realize that it's reasonable and it complies with the Property Owners Act. Because right now, we can't even use the Property Owners Act because it's given us the authority, but we don't have it in our declaration. So pick a couple or two, if you think about that as you're reviewing it, that you think the community could get behind, and we could do an amendment. That's an alternative to doing the whole darn thing.
So the amendment requires still 75% of the community?
Yeah. But if you get them, it's like wading into the water. If they understand that we're handcuffed and can't operate for them because we have a 50-year-old document and the world has moved on, they might then build some trust that they would understand and look favorably upon other items that you might recommend.
We would get better every time we did it too. But one thing that I thought I struck gold when I found out documents could expire. And then I found out what happens when they expire, and we don't want them to expire. But my question for Amy to think about as we go through this is how long we can change the date when we change it to expire and how much time, and then we can change what the vote is, right? When we make this, when we amend it.
Theoretically, but why would you wanna change the time of expiration?
I don't know, that's what I was asking you. It's, the original, I think, was 20 years and every 10 years after that, is that?
No, that's not. You've got it a little bit crossed, Tom.
Okay,
It had to do with the declarant being in the picture. When the declarant, while the declarant
Yeah.
was in the picture, it took 90%.
yeah,
Once he was gone, it went to 75%.
okay.
But it automatically renews every,
But it
Yeah, it does.
year,
never
so
expires.
it doesn't
Well,
expire.
some of them can and have, and that's a bad thing to happen. So,
I can look, but typically they do
we
not.
don't want it to happen.
Corporations cannot die except by their own volition. Okay, so our homework is, go ahead.
Let's focus on what we want changed and what we want in a document, and let Amy work the legal part.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the other stuff.
And whatever,
It will come to it.
Whatever thought-
It'll get work.
whatever thoughts you have, put it in a keyboard and put it on the Vatican so we can all see it.
And keep in mind that eventually this is actually gonna have to be paper. The clerk's
Yeah.
office.
Yeah.
The e-filing system cannot handle documents over a certain megabyte size. And I can guarantee you that 75% of 7,000 is not. gonna make that.
No, you with compression?
Okay. Are we clear on the homework? Can I help Trent? Okay, we all cooperate with Trent to put in the minutes. The board of directors, we're in consensus that we should take a look at blah, 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 and, come prepared to discuss it at the next meeting. Fair enough?
Fair.
We can make that, polish that up, we'll say it happened. Okay, our next item of new business is to talk about a plan forward on filling the currently vacant board, director position. I'm open to your, comments again, let's have a little discussion. If we get to the point where somebody thinks they wanna make a motion to take an action, that's fine. I would also offer that, the same thing kind of applies in looking at this in terms of timing with the, election in the very near future. What are your comments? What's your urge? Vince?
If we have 3 positions being voted on, just make it 4.
That is not consistent with the documents. We cannot elect 4 people. We can only elect 3 because we have to elect with respect to the terms that are expired. So what we have is an unexpired term. That's the board's responsibility to fill. The reason it's connected is sort of by kissing cousins, is that it's putting members, it's making people directors. The election's gonna make some people directors, and the board's gonna make somebody a director. And the question is, how do we wanna have those 2 actions come together? We could wait to see who the candidates are, we could pick somebody right now and make them a director tonight. I'm not suggesting that's wise, but that's within our prerogative. John, let me see if I answered your question, or if I,
No, you did, I would definitely suggest if we need to appoint someone, we do it before the election's done, so there's no confusion over that open seat.
okay, that's opinion.
I was gonna do just the opposite. I was gonna say we have an unprecedented, at least in my opinion, number of candidates. And we elect 3. After those 3 are elected, we can have a executive meeting immediately there and look at the ballots. Because this would not only allow us to pick one to sit in there, it would also align that term with the term that it expired that we're filling. That was my thought.
That sounds like a good idea.
Would you please clarify what you mean by align with the term? Because this is going to be a 2-year term, no matter which way the river flows.
I think what he meant was if we did it tonight, you years, 2 months.
It wouldn't be 3 years, it would be for the rest of the term that we're replacing. The 2
Exactly.
years.
Yeah. You see what I?
So they're saying they're starting.
What he's saying is it'll be a 2-year and not a
It'd be
2-year.
an even 2 years rather than 25 months or
I don't
28
think that
months.
makes
or-
any difference,
I
but
But it would,
I wouldn't pass up it would get re-elected and then 1 more. And it would not preempt the election, is what I guess I'm getting at.
Yeah. And I think even if it's, the 4th one, we can look at the 4th one, or we can see what it allows us to have a
Yeah.
pool of people who are already interested, and I think that gives us enough of variety, leeway to be able to look at, see how best to, again, what our needs are and expertise. So that's why I'm with you on waiting
And
until.
we already have 6
You'll have 7
resumes.
people.
But it doesn't, for example, I think this is what you're saying. If we look at the candidates that have run, we can look at not necessarily the next person with the next highest number of votes
No.
and forth, but rather, maybe we need banking experience, or maybe we want somebody that, a math major or something. That might, if we think that's what we need, and that's what you were saying.
Right, just to consider that in addition to how people
Yeah.
voted, like, all of that, will
Sounds
give us
sound.
that opportunity to be able to consider. People who
Are interested?
are interested by, which the candidate by nature of running would be, and then also. that person who, like, for instance, that I didn't necessarily consider myself like out there campaigning or get my name out there, and by grace,
Praise to God.
yeah, God's grace, I'm here. So there could be somebody that may have those skills and talents that would balance out what we already have, that may not necessarily, that have shown interest, that we should also consider. Not saying that we just guard how people have voted,
I would
but
also,
also allowing for us to look at out of the remaining candidates who would help our community push forward, knowing that we have this past of the bylaws that we're trying to go through, knowing that the reserve studies is not it's not as far away, as you think, knowing some of the things that's gonna be coming up too. So I think that, that should be something that we consider, but as you said, I would say after the election for that reason. Because, like I said, I think that for our community, it will show that we are valuing their voice. They've had a chance to hear the candidates. We can see how they voted to kind of help us as a guide, and we can also take a look at the people who weren't, as well as some others that may come along that may have, what it would take to be a strong board member to fill out the nominating term. That's
Okay.
all.
Thank you. Aaron's next in line.
I agree with Vic. We should appoint prior to our January meeting. And the person up there, Philip Botwinick, would be a perfect candidate. He's an attorney. He's got a lot of different.
Can you do both though, isn't he on the finance?
Yeah, but he would drop
But he
out
can
of the
choose.
finance. He's
I
got
agree,
some of
Phil would be
the
great.
expertise that we're looking to get.
well, I was just going to say, even if we postpone it, everyone in this room should be considering, do I know somebody that would be hardworking and that would be able to convince up the community in the marketing effort to go forward with changing the really needed elements of the declaration. So don't discount the fact that you should be in a position to say, hey, I think Mary Jane, who lives up the street from me, that I've known for 100 years, 50 years, would be great. And is a hard worker, because I've seen her in church, or I've seen her in a club that I work with. And so ask her for the bio and be prepared if you have a strong candidate. But like Aaron says, I agree with you on the, on Phil,
And he's already said he is running for the board.
yes.
He'd be a superb candidate.
So let me bring it down to practicalities. We're not in a position to take action tonight because we don't have candidates, we don't have information, we don't have basis. Which would then punt the available action to a potential meeting, which is not necessarily totally expedient.
Not your cup
And,
of tea.
RMP January, is that right?
Yeah.
If we do something in January, we're really, really close to February. So I would, at the very minimum, we're gonna punt it to January. But unless we prepare to take action in January, we will get to January and we still wouldn't be prepared to take action in January unless we start preparing to do that now. So if someone has a strong enough opinion that they want to make a motion to set in motion to initiate a candidate selection process for filling the vacancy in January, then that would be an appropriate motion. If nobody has this, and we'll find out whether we agree to it in corporate. On the other hand, if nobody has a strong enough opinion or whatever to put that motion on the floor, then we'll just by default, that's what's gonna happen. We'll defer it to further discussion in January.
Can I make one point? One might not really matter, because from January, it'll reset itself. But if you appoint somebody in January, there will be the composition of board that is very close to almost majority appointed rather than for that point in time in January, or change the month, but there will be something that's prospective that almost half the board was appointed by the board itself rather than elected at that point. The second point is the nomination process is started. And when I don't wanna comment on any of the the electability of the candidates, I would be concerned about nominating one of the candidates out of the candidate pool that has already been in a fair election started the election process when candidates close. So that would give you some concern, pulling them out of that pool.
Or
Not
whether they be,
before the election actually gets.
even if they were interested,
Yes.
it would be, okay,
I agree.
all right. Last call for emotional opinion, or, you know, whatever my word is, strong opinions. Okay.
I
we're
move,
deferring-
hold on a second. I move that we appoint a person to fill the vacant board director seat. That term that's supposed to expire in 2028. After the general election by an executive meeting immediately after. Yeah, I think I grasped what you said.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second.
Can you repeat that motion?
Okay, let me try. So Rashonda is proposing that board make a decision or declare its intent to fill the vacant director position immediately following the annual meeting when we meet to elect officers.
I want, before that motion is completed.
No, we're gonna get a second, or we're not gonna even have any discussion.
You got a second.
Oh, did I?
Yes, from
Okay,
John.
sorry, Vic, sorry.
Sorry. There was a precedent that was set, I just think the board should know making the motion last July when it came to filling committee members. That if we do it, it's fine, if we have time to set that, meet the precedent, but we had 30 days notice to the community that we were going to fill a position. So if we're going to fill it at the executive session meeting after the annual meeting, when we set our directors, which is fine, we should probably also have the motion when we're going to notice the community that we're also looking for candidates to apply for this position.
Wait a
Well,
minute.
we're not necessarily looking for candidates.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Minute, hold on. Excuse me. So why would we need to do that?
Okay, if the only people eligible to be elected are then the people that have applied to something that they didn't know was making them eligible to also be appointed to.
That's a good
I
point.
mean, everybody before the nomination process is done, November 1st, it ended. So anybody who thought they could have been a shorter term didn't have that information for the nomination process, so you've shortened the pool
Fair
down to 10 people that didn't know they were in.
In other words,
Do it.
we didn't get anybody signed up who wasn't willing to go for 3 years.
So, yeah, I think that, I guess, I don't know if it's proper to amend it, but what I was thinking in my mind when I was wanted to do that is that we would obviously let people know that this two-term position will be open. We will already have the people who signed up for the 3 years, they will automatically be included, but then anyone, that particular seat will also be open.
It's
Yeah.
allowing more people into that pool,
Okay, that's
would be the.
That's certainly an executable approach. Jack.
2 points. Number one, we have never made a resolution that we have to give 30 days notice to the community that we're about to fill a vacancy. I think it's a great policy, it's a good idea, but first of all, let's clarify, there is no board decision that has to be done. And secondly, I don't believe we should ever abdicate the responsibility of the board to make a decision when a vacancy occurs, because we never know when it's gonna occur, and the documents clearly give us that authority. And I think we should be open to be able to choose people that we want, not necessarily, I didn't read your motion to mean that it was only considering the candidates that had applied or that ran.
Right, I think what he wants, what we should do, if the motion carries, that we make sure that we notify the community that there is a second this open seat available, and also notify the candidates that are running, that have been approved and everything, that they're automatically opted into that particular pool, and they can opt out if they so choose. If that makes sense, because maybe they wanna be here all 3 years and they don't wanna just do 2. Or maybe they have an odd number with the number 28.
So the easy way to do that is just merely announce that we're going to fill a vacancy.
Yeah.
Opportunity, get your interest or in filling that vacancy by raising your hand. If you're already a candidate, you can raise your hand. If you're not already a candidate, you can raise your hand. Fair enough? And we're gonna interpret that that's what your motion said.
Yeah.
And we're gonna help you. We're gonna help write. That's what you second. All right, so far so good?
Yes.
Everybody's agreed to it.
Anybody got any other further discussion before we go? Vote. All right, all in favor of Rashonda's motion, say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. With that, we will entertain our concluding open forum. Are there any members of the community who have anything on their mind at this point? Sir,
My name's Devin. I'm actually running for the board. I signed up. Just a suggestion. I feel like if I was on the board right now, my thought would be, don't take it from the will of the people. If you have a 10 candidates, what I understand is a larger number than usual, why not? You know, that fourth person who's finished fourth in the voting, you know, obviously the community expressed interest in that person. So just a suggestion, maybe appoint or agree to appoint the person with the fourth most votes, because the community has, to some degree, put some input in that person is of value. So just a suggestion. And then my other question was, did you mention that there talks about a speed table being put in Mohican?
So the talks are, yes,
Okay.
yeah, it very preliminary. We haven't even got VDOT to reach back out. The first step was to work through Supervisor Cody's office and get the connection with VDOT. We'll find out if it's feasible, and what the process is. And get information.
Where would the location be?
The areas would, the proposed area, if it happens, would be near the top lot. Wherever that top lot crosses the greenway. I can't think of it right now. What was that? I believe so, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
No problem.
all right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second, motion a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.